Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks. Are you serious? Hopefully, I'll be joined in just a couple of minutes by my co-host, the Mad New Yorker. I was late getting him the invite. I forgot to send it to him until just now. So hopefully we'll see him in just a couple of minutes. Welcome everybody watching us this morning on TGI Sports Talk on Facebook or YouTube, watching us on Northeast Streaming Sports, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or even on the Roku app, Northeast Streaming Channel's Roku app that you can get on the Roku channel. Please go download that. You can get it for free. And lots of great content there, as I've said many times. And speaking of great content, you can also watch us on Let's Talk Sports on the YouTube channel that they have there. So please do that. And DDH, thumbs up. And again, a great big shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media and the Sports Corner that he does with Smoking Jim Frazier there in Pittsburgh on 12:30 a.m. and 99.3 FM WBZP in Pittsburgh. Watch that show on Tuesdays at 5 o'clock. Check that out. We're going to get into some chatter today. Let me get rid of the rest of this music. We'll get into some chatter today. I see the Mad New Yorker has joined me, so I'll have him in just a second. We're going to get into some conversation about the Juan Soto trade. I'm not terribly enamored with it. We'll see what Carlos's take is. Some Zac Wilson chatter as he turned the corner. Maybe we talk about Tommy DeVito a little in that conversation, because it will play into our conversation that'll also come, I think, about the top-ranked quarterbacks coming out of the NFL and whether the Jets and Giants and my Patriots, how they might fit into this whole carousel of quarterbacks that will likely happen in the offseason here in the NFL between NFL quarterbacks and the players coming into the league. Not terribly enamored with all of them, but I do have a thought about my Patriots, I can tell you. And then we'll maybe talk about Draymond Green a little bit too. We'll see where we get. And before I bring Carlos in, we got a couple of comments. I'll just jump up here and say good morning. Oh, that's me. Good morning, CA. Good to have you with us on this beautiful Friday. Hope you're having a good time out there in the Southwest. And I'll say good morning to Mr. Carlos Chavez.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
How you doing, Carlos? Did you spend your off week in any enjoyable capacity?
Yeah, man. I was in Barranquilla, Colombia. I was wanting to give a heads up and a thumbs up to Atletico Junior out of Barranquilla, Colombia, winning a championship in the Colombian League. So they were playing a final while I was down there.
This is soccer?
This is soccer, yeah. This is football, international, known as football. But
oh, I'm sorry. It's only soccer here in upstate New York. I forgot.
They ended up winning the championship on Wednesday night in Medellin, Colombia. So.
Well, congratulations to them and him, and glad that worked out. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. Good to have you with us. Dave Guyette out there in Johnstown, New York. Hope he's doing well. CA, what do you got going on, buddy? At the PDC, this is darts, guys, professional darts. It's a real thing, and CA keeps us up on this pretty much weekly. So check it out. And good morning to Linda. Or Mac, whoever this might be. We never know which one of us is here. I'm going to assume it's Linda because I just talked to Mac. I don't need to talk to him anymore. Good morning, Keith and Carlos. And it's good to be back. We did have a encore show last week as I was traveling, and obviously Carlos was traveling, as you heard as well. Rick wants to know if he brought anything back.
a lot of coffee and a suntan, bro.
So, I think that's for you.
Yeah. But another thing real quick. I know.
By the way, I came back from Utah when I came back Friday. There ain't nothing to bring back from Utah, I can tell you right
now. Another thing is big heads up to the community at Clarksville. They got hit with a tornado while I was gone. There's a lot of people that have been affected by that. This is a town that's very close to Austin P, where I went to school.
Yeah.
My parents still live there. It's near a military base. Also, not just those people in Clarksville, but other people in Middle Tennessee and Northern Kentucky who got hit. Prayers are with you.
Absolutely.
Just know it's holiday season. I know it's tough, and we hope that you get all the help that is needed. Appreciate all the people that's been going out there and giving a hand. That's what they do. That's what Tennessee's known for. It's a volunteer state. they do a good job, and just blessings for everybody. And I hope that just goes to show that no matter what time of year it is, somebody's over there to give you a hand, and just all you gotta do is ask for help, and somebody will be there. So
that's good to know. And not known as Tornado Alley, but I think this has happened a couple of times in the last 2 or 3 years. I feel like in that general vicinity. So
yeah, in '99 we got hit up pretty bad when I was there in school. It ran through the middle of the downtown area. There was a renovation and a reconstruction that had to be done, and then a few years in 2008, something like that again. So yeah, it can happen. It's not like Oklahoma and Iowa where it's like frequent. It can happen there. So
well, our prayers go out to them, and hopefully things will get back to normal, or as normal as they can be here as we head through the holiday season, for sure. Tough time of year for that stuff to happen. Tough anytime, but tough this time of year for sure.
Yeah.
So let's jump into it. I want to start because we haven't had a chance to talk about the big Juan Soto trade, which happened, I think, last Thursday, maybe last Wednesday. Coming to the Yankees for listen, I think a plethora of good pitchers, by the way. I think they get a lot in this trade. I'm not crazy about the fit, and I'll give you a couple of reasons. First, I didn't like some of the guys I love Michael King. We got nobody in the starting rotation healthy beyond Garrett Cole and maybe Clark Schmidt. I know they're hot on Yamamoto, but I'm not convinced he's not going to follow Ohtani out to. He didn't defer $68 million a year for nothing, by the way. Right. That's another story, though. And I'm also not happy about this. There's no flexibility here in the outfield configuration in DH. You're stuck with Stanton at DH. Soto's not a good defensive outfielder. He's got to play right field, which means Judge has got to play center field every day, basically, for this configuration to work. And plus, I see another guy who doesn't exactly bust it to first base all the time either. And all those factors, I don't know that. Plus, I got to sign him. I'm not sure I like this trade on the face value. Great hitter. Don't get me wrong.
Well, I think it's just you need somebody to complement Judge. Stanton's on the way out as far as he's not enough to supplement Judge, and not just hitting, but also like
he should be out now. Let's eat the contract. Somebody will take a chance on his bat. Eat the contract.
I think the Yankees are eating okay. They just what happens is I feel like this was just a stab at trying to get somebody instead of, like you said, fixing the holes, plugging what's wrong with the team. But the Yankees always do that, and I think they do that in a sense to try to bring other people in, right? You can't bring pitchers in if the pitchers don't feel like they got a good offense, that they're not going to be needed as much, right? So there's always some kind of scheme, some kind of madness that goes on in New York Yankee land to try to pull fish in, right? You pull the fish in, and you get the sharks coming in, and
classic Brian Cashman trade, just filling a need. Again, there's too many needs to just put all of this in this barrel, because now they got to go out and spend money to sign them too.
Yeah, and I think they were already in the back end of this free agency deal, no matter what they were going to do, because of the big contracts that they have, the new one with Judge, and then Cole, and then Stanton. Like they're already hand tied. So, but they can't lose money, right? You can't hemorrhage money. So you gotta bring somebody who sells tickets. So I feel like this was a move to get a big player, to try to bring in other players and try to get a championship tomorrow, right? That's the only thing you can do with what they have on a table. And every team's table set, right? The Mets have their own table to worry about. The Dodgers, they did what they did with what they had, and so everybody's just trying to maneuver and move things around so they can get at least 2 or 3 players that can sell them tickets, and then build a team from there with whatever they have on the roster. So.
My fear now is because again, you've got problems in the bullpen, you got big problems in the starting rotation, and my fear is I got another Carlos Rondon on the way here, who I said last year was a horrible signing, and it proved out, and I don't see it getting any better this year.
Yeah, I wasn't too keen on that Rondon pickup either.
I see the same thing happening with somebody this year. He'll overpay because the top pitchers are going to be gone. They're not going to come here. And he's going to overpay for somebody who's who's got injury issues or issues that he's not. Psychologically, he's not going to be able to play here in New York. I mean, that's an issue you have to think about. I know when I'm on Mac and Jack always poo-poos that it's not hard to play in New York. I'm sorry, it is. I've seen it too many times.
Yeah, it's not about playing in New York. It's about who you are and how you fit here in New York. So here's the thing, Keith. Like, the problem with this trade is that there's already talk about him leaving before he's even given an option of contract.
1 year left. That's it.
Right. So, yeah. So, I mean, there's this rumblings about he wants to go elsewhere, but he just wants to be a Yankee for now. And it's like, that's not good. So, in essence, this trade is win now or bust. And I'm not sure if the Yankees are going to have enough in the tank, because this isn't every sport's the same way. You sign all the players, you got a roster going, and then the real season happens. And baseball's a long season. There's always injuries. There's always some kind of drama. There's slumps. There's always something. And in New York, it's every day. There's something every day. Like the newspapers, the media, every day there's something to talk about, especially in baseball. So, I'm not sure if this was a great deal for anybody.
It's not a great deal. Again, there's too many holes. It is a win now trade because you don't know. They don't guarantee you're going to sign them. This hurts the ability to go after more top-notch pitchers, and there's hole at third base, and they're going to have to make some trades, and you may still see Torres get traded for either a third baseman or maybe even some pitching help. And it also hurts, by the way, while they think he's going to be a great running mate for Judge, which offensively he probably will. I'd like to see him hustle a little bit more than he does when he's not hitting the ball out of the ballpark. But it hurts Judge in the sense that Judge now needs to play center field every day, which is a big deal for your leader and your best player. Sorry, Juan Soto. Your best player is now playing center field and taking that extra pounding every day, which people will poo-poo that. But it is a big deal.
Yeah, I mentioned last year that Juan Soto might actually be signed by the Yankees, and you poo-pooed that idea.
I did.
But however, I just want to know.
By the way, I've now got us all saying poo-pooed. By the way, I want to point that out.
I want to know if Judge is okay with this deal. Is Cole okay with this deal? Is this okay with the coaching staff? Like, you pick up a player like in this magnitude, and it's gonna change. It's gonna change what you have going on, and it might not change for the positive. So I gotta believe,
Brian Cashman obviously is an autocrat. He can pretty much do what he wants, but I don't think he's stupid enough not to talk to his superstar in Aaron Judge and say, "Are you okay playing center field every day?" You got to before he makes the trade. Once they brought in Verdugo, they brought in Verdugo first, remember, and he can't play center field either.
Which that trade, I feel like that deal was a better deal for depth than
I like Verdugo. Verdugo's a good player.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Put the ball in play. I think he's a hustler, which is important to me. I like getting Grisham. I like Grisham in center field. His bat's a little weak, but he showed the playoffs against the Mets 2 years ago that the guy can hit.
Yeah.
But he's going to get very limited opportunities to play. He's going to play late in games when they move Judge over to right field and maybe put him into center field. But again, a lot of holes here. This is a dysfunctional team like every single year.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
Put together a functional baseball team.
This isn't a news flash, but every team's going to struggle with pitching this year. So,
well, not just pitching though. Just again, I talk a lot about they're not fundamentally sound. Juan Soto is a very good hitter. He's a great hitter.
Right.
But fundamentally with the rest of the game, base running, fielding, just baseball instincts are not there in my mind.
Yeah, but you have to understand too that he's at least, that in the playoffs his bat's going to show up. So
I got to get to the playoffs, Carlos. I mean, I'm not confident this team is going to be right now on paper. This team is not any better than it was last year. Better bats. There's a better bat in the lineup. I get that.
He still got to stay healthy too. So
and he's got. I think his track record there is pretty solid. But
no, he's usually, it's not him I'm worried about. It's other people on the team.
Oh, you're saying stay healthy as a team? Yeah. Well, Judge is playing center field every day. His injury potential has increased by having to play center field every day.
I just hope Stanton don't come out with like a bruised finger or a bruised kneecap like on the first.
You know what? In a way, I hope he does, because then I can slide Soto into the DH and play a decent defensive outfielder out there. So, and get Judge out of center field.
It's a lot to try to take in. The winter meetings is just starting to boil, starting to get hot and boil, and let's just see what gets cooking, man. It's like you still got players that won't sign until the first week of training camp. So,
yeah, well, those aren't going to be terribly useful players either, in my mind. But we'll see. We'll see. Again, we'll lot more to be talked about on this topic. And
I feel like the Dodgers did a good job, right?
If you want to jump there for a second, I mean, I don't know how this isn't circumventing some of the salary cap rules by deferring all but $2 million of $70 million for 10 years. You know, he's going to make $2 million a year for the next 10 years, and then he's going to be like Bobby Bonilla and get paid the rest of his money over however many years. Yeah, it helps the Dodgers immensely, right? And this is circumventing the salary cap in my mind.
I think the only thing the Dodgers were worried about in present day was how will they get rid of Kershaw and still be a brand and expect to win a championship. And they did a good job by getting Ohtani.
They got people thought, well, they're paying him $70 million a year. First of all, they cleared up $160 million for this year's payroll before they traded or signed Ohtani. Right. They didn't take away $70 million from that 160. They only took away $2 million. So they've still got basically $160 million to go out and spend on free agents. Yamamoto's the first guy they're going after. Yankees are not getting Yamamoto. He's going to go to the Dodgers and follow Ohtani. I would bet anything.
Yeah, I mean, and I told people that Ohtani he was going to stay on the West Coast. I didn't think he was. I think the best team and the best opportunity were the Mets, because they would have had Senga, Yamamoto, and Ohtani, and it would have been okay I would have been felt better for them spending on that than picking up these other two yahoos that were like past their prime, anyways.
Yeah, Ohtani was never coming east. We knew that. And by the way, the Giants, the team I predicted he'd go to, the Giants offered him $700 million for 10 years, and he preferred the Dodgers. And we knew going in that the team that signed Ohtani was going to have a leg up for Yamamoto, because he said he wants to play with other great Japanese players when he gets here. And there's no better one than Ohtani. And there's money to be had there in LA where.
Yeah. And to them, and it's crazy, the cultural thing and how they see themselves and where they're going to put themselves, very strategic. And Ohtani did have some things to say about San Francisco and what was going on over there in the past. And the Dodgers, just kudos to them. They did a great job.
Great job. Especially when you only got to pay him basically $2 million this year and 68 later.
Good luck to them. I just feel like they still might miss out in they're in the playoffs, but I don't know if they'll go to the World Series, to be honest with you. And you can't have three of the best hitters hitting under 280 and slumping in the World Series. So they better fix that.
There is lots of irony in talking about other payrolls from a Yankee perspective. I agree. But again, I think you're going to see some changes to
pay scale, the way that people,
the way you can address payroll, because you can defer, basically 100% of somebody's salary, so it doesn't affect your salary cap this year. I mean, I'm okay. NFL teams have done it for years, and baseball players have done it for years, deferred money to later, but not, 99% of your pay.
Well, he's just trying to stay under the tax regulations in California too.
Well, there's that too, I suppose. So, again, maybe the state will come in there and say, well, he's got to pay tax on it eventually, but if he gets it when he's, 70 years old, it's a lot less tax he's got to pay on it.
I don't think it's after he retires, right? It's not after 70. It's after he retires his actual. And how old are you? What's your retirement age in baseball? Like, you got to play 10 years?
Well, to be part of the pension, I think only 5. I think to be part of the pension.
So he just got to stay away from it for 5, and after that, he's considered a retired pension player.
Well, anyway, I don't think this is a Bobby Bonilla thing quite, because I don't think they're going to pay him for 50 years, because I think they're paying him all his money within 10 years of money they owe him when he retires. So yeah,
right, that's what I'm saying. That's how they can stay in that whole tax bracket, not messing up all that.
So there won't be a Bobby Bonilla day in LA, or a Otani
payday.
Otani payday like they have for Bobby Bonilla here. I think the Mets, by the way, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I think they've only got like 6 years or 7 years to go. 5 years.
4 seasons, I think. Yeah.
And then we'd have no more Bobby Bonilla day. What are we going to do here? What's he got? Insurance premium is high in that $680 million. I guarantee you that money is all insured. And it's probably
look, if you guys think about it, the deal is great for the Dodgers because they get 3 players in one. They got a DH, they got a field player, and then they got a pitcher.
Well, this year
he's pitching in the first season or not, that doesn't matter. They still got a pitcher.
Time out. They didn't get 3 players. He doesn't have a position. He doesn't play the field. He hasn't played the field since he's been here in the U.S. ever, except for pitcher. He can't pitch this year, so they're paying for a hitter this year. That's it. He can't play the field, and he'll pitch in 2025.
I'm sure they'll put him on the field before he's.
Where's he gonna play? He doesn't have a position.
He can play first base.
So you can just stick anybody out there and play first base.
He's not a bad. You're talking about Otani as if he doesn't have a glove and he can't play the field.
I have never seen him play the field, so I'm going to say no, he can't. Why wouldn't he have played
it? He hasn't played it here in the U.S., but he's played it in Japan.
As bad as the Angels have been since he's been there, if he could play the field with any kind of competency, he would have played the field.
The Angels had a plan for him, and he fit that plan. So
thank you, CA. CA confirms what I said. You and I can. I'm not saying he won't go out there for an inning as some kind of publicity stunt, but I will tell you, if he plays the field for more than 9 innings this year, I'll buy you a coffee. We'll go to Columbia and I'll buy you a coffee.
Are you talking about like in the preseason?
I'm talking about any time this year. He's not playing in the field.
I'm gonna have to buy me a jug of coffee. I've never seen a foreign player not being able to play the field.
Never.
I mean, the ones that come in and say that the DH and don't play the field.
And why in 5 years has he never played the field for the Angels? Why?
He didn't have to. That's what I'm telling you.
Because they were so good and had so many good position players.
No, because they didn't want him. They already had him pitching, and they could use somebody else. I'm sure they'll put him on the field if it was something that could come up and he could do.
Well, if you had some emergency and he was the only guy left, sure, but otherwise he's not playing the field. I'm telling you, especially you're not going to risk him getting hurt for $68 million or $70 million.
He got hurt hitting the ball. A lot of people have torn their muscles.
Throwing the ball. He probably won't pitch more than 2 or 3 more years on that contract.
Yeah, I don't think he'll pitch more than 3 years either.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's already had a couple of injuries. So, anyway, let's move on to something else near and dear to your heart. Zac Wilson has a great game. Now, listen, and I don't want to be an overreactor, which I'm going to be, I guess, for a little bit.
Well, they gave him an award.
I think played really well Sunday against who did they play Sunday? I don't even remember who they played.
Exactly.
Who the hell did they play?
The Dolphins?
No, they're playing Dolphins this week.
Oh,
they played. They killed whoever they played in the second half. Hang on a second. How do I not know this? My mind is like a freaking giant void this week.
Wasn't it the Texans? No.
Oh, the Texans, yeah. So they scored 30 points in the second half. And in my mind, I saw a different offense. They opened up the playbook. Mm-hmm. They took the chains off of Zac Wilson, which I think has hurt him a lot. I know they're trying to help him by dumbing down the playbook and simplifying it, but I think opening up the offense helped him a lot. The confidence, now the question is, does confidence carry over and he doesn't embarrass himself or the team doesn't embarrass himself this week against the Dolphins? But no matter what Zac Wilson does the rest of the year, and for the Jets' sake, I hope he plays like he played this past week. The question's still going to become, well, there's 2 questions, a couple of questions. Has he turned a corner? Mm-hmm. One game, I know it's very small sample size, and just to say he has. Should the Mets move on from him? The Jets move on from him anyway, because his value will never be higher if he plays anywhere near how he played this week, the next 4 weeks, or should they count on him for their future?
Yeah. So there was rumblings about the Jets getting rid of him after the season. But
last season, right?
I mean, look,
good morning, Bob and Jeanette.
Good morning, Bob. Here's the thing about Zac Wilson. And here's the thing about the Jets. If they have any inclining of trying to do anything for anybody, it's pretty much it's better to keep Zac Wilson, because you can see that he's at least has some kind of learning curve. It's not just him being insufferable as a quarterback. Again, you don't have a decent O-line to protect him. You didn't have a decent O-line to protect Rodgers. So I think it would benefit the Jets to keep him financially. It won't benefit them to keep him as someone who has like potential and to become better.
Then what's the point of keeping him if he plays
again, money? Because the Jets need to save money.
they can save money by getting rid of his rookie contract, which is going to be up. He can he'll be due for a new contract after next year.
And what you're going to pay a backup?
He won't be a backup at that point. Theoretically, Rodgers isn't playing past next year. Rodgers isn't playing past next year. So
who would back him up? Who would back up Rodgers?
Does it matter?
Yeah, it matters right now. They just lost Rodgers. They're not winning any games.
But my point is this: you need to improve other parts of that team, correct?
Which is why
if Zac Wilson plays anywhere near the level he played this past week, his value will never be higher for the Jets to trade him, because there's a lot of quarterbacks. I'm sorry, there's a lot of teams in need of a quarterback.
Right. Here's the thing. This is the conundrum that the Jets have done by not selling their picks. This Zac Wilson thing is going to turn around and bite them no matter which way they looked at it. Him being on the field.
How do you think they're going to improve their offensive line if they don't move for draft picks?
Him if they keep him if they move him, they're already in the hole. So they need to choose what it is they want to do with him, because at the end of the day, it's going to cost them. It's already cost them, and they're like paying for it, no matter what it is that they're going to choose to do. If I was a GM, I'd cut my ties with him, because I know that even though he might have a little bit of potential, I need somebody better than Zac Wilson to be my backup to Aaron Rodgers if I want to get into a playoff run. That's plain and simple. Boyle didn't work. Wilson didn't work. So you need somebody who's better than both of them if you're going to lose Aaron Rodgers again, which is more probable than it is not.
But there's nobody better out there, because look at the quarterback situation. We talked about it several times. The quarterback situation in the league is awful, especially the backup.
Yeah, but they could pick up like what's his name from the Giants is probably going to lose his job now because he's pretty much his third quarterback now.
Tyrod Taylor.
Like they can pick somebody up like him. I'm sure there's maybe 3 or 4 guys like that around. Stay away from Trubisky. But
are you going to win games if you have to play Tyrod Taylor?
You'll win 1 or 2 games. How long do you plan on Aaron Rodgers to be out the next incident he has?
Well, I don't know. I think the next incident he's done. I mean,
he's hurt his finger. He was out a couple years ago. He hurt his finger. This is a pretty big deal because he hurt his knee.
Well, this is his Achilles.
I'm sorry, his Achilles. Yeah, his Achilles. So if it's not a knee or anything like that, I think it'd be okay. The problem was that they picked up Aaron Rodgers. So, it's whatever. The Jets just keep doing what the Jets doing, but I have some the potential becoming better would be
doing something different than the Jets have always done would be take a guy at his highest value in Zac Wilson. If you don't think he's your future after next year, you'll find a backup. You just said you could get a Tyrod Taylor. You trade him at his highest value, and you're worried about being able to pay guys because of what you're paying Rodgers. You trade him for draft picks and draft the right offensive linemen. They're only on rookie contracts.
The Jets were the only ones that were going to pick up Aaron Rodgers because they had enough money and they had enough to give up. Nobody in the league on 32 teams are going to pick up Aaron Rodgers, man. Believe it.
I didn't say they were. I said nothing about Aaron Rodgers. I said Zac Wilson will never be at a higher value.
To trade him at a higher value, look, Wilson. If you trade him for one of the teams in the NFL and you believe Wilson has potential, then go ahead, take a stab. The Jets should just let him go anyway. They know what they have. They know what they have, and they know the potential they have. How much higher do you think Zac Wilson's ceiling is going to be? He has to change his attitude first anyway. He has to grow up.
my exact point. I'm not telling you to hang on to him. I'm telling you to trade him while his value is high.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if even if the Jets let him go, who's going to pick him up?
Have you seen a quarterback play around the league? There's about 12 teams that would be interested in Zac Wilson if he plays this way the rest of the year. Now that's a big if. I get that.
If I'm out there and I need a quarterback, I'm not looking to pick up Zac Wilson.
You wouldn't. If
I was hurting, if I'm the Giants, I don't want Zac Wilson on the team, and I can't stand Daniel Jones. And that's not saying because DeVito's playing, because I think that right now he's being lucky, and they're using him with the skill level, which is good.
Quarterback ratings over 100 for the last 3 weeks, and they won 2 of those games.
I don't, and bananas taste good until they ripen too much. So who cares?
I have no idea how that's relevant, but you're right.
Banana looks good until it over ripens, and then it's like, you got to throw this out.
I'm not saying DeVito ought to be the Giants' future, but he's definitely a backup quarterback in this league for sure.
He should be.
He's
given
proven
an opportunity to be the future. That's more of a fair shot than Zac Wilson coming back to the Jets.
Again, you keep saying come back. I keep saying they should trade him, and you say I'm wrong, but then you say he shouldn't be coming back. Make up your mind.
No, I don't want him back. I don't think he should come back. They shouldn't sign him. They should trade. They should try to release him and do something with him. But
not release him. Trade him.
Well, that's
the value. If he plays, what the hell is that? You hear that?
Yeah, it's a second coming.
Great. That's all I need. I'll give him taken away right now.
It's like the thing is that you can't. I don't think he has enough trade value. What are you going to get from him? 2 4th-rounders?
No, if he plays, I guarantee you, if he were to play this one again, I know it's a big if he reverts to his previous form the next 4 weeks, again, people remember what you do now. And if he plays like he played last week, the rest of the season, they'll easily get at least 1-2 for him, and maybe more than 1-2, because there's teams that are starving for quarterback play in this league.
Oh man, you give me indigestion, bro. I don't know.
I'm telling you.
If you're looking at it like that, you're a pretty conservative guy.
I am.
I don't know, man.
Would I keep Dalvin Cook or let him go? He's a waste of space. I mean, that's the worst $2 million or whatever they signed him that they spent all year, Anthony. Good morning.
The $2 million investment didn't work because they don't have an O-line.
Breece Hall's played fine behind that offensive line.
Breece Hall's different. They knew what they were going to get from Breece Hall because he's young, spree, and they know how he runs.
More reason not to spend money on Dalvin Cook, by the way.
But Dalvin Cook, he's you pound the rock with him, and you get 4 yards, you get 6 yards, you might get 10 yards on a breakaway, like you might get 25 yards on a breakaway. Like, who Dalvin Cook was, and you legitimately spent $2 million knowing that you couldn't get him those kind of holes. That's not Dalvin Cook's fault.
He also wasn't going to get the touches because if Breece Hall was healthy, he was going to play in front of him and get all the touches. The majority of the touches.
Again, that's not Dalvin Cook's fault. If he don't get the touches, how's that his fault? He ain't the coach.
I'm saying they shouldn't have signed him. That's my point. Would I let him go?
The Falcons, they don't get just.
There's one team. There's one team that is a perfect fit for Zac Wilson.
What? The Falcons?
Again, a big if. A big if. Zac Wilson has to be the Zac Wilson that we saw Sunday, and not the one that we've seen a lot before this. So,
Atlanta Falcons, listen to me. And I know I'm not a special person, but I'm not blind either. I had LASIK, so I can see pretty well. If you go out and get Zac Wilson, you might as well fire the rest of your coaching staff now because they're on the hot seat anyways.
Well, they may not
legitimately get you fired as a GM and a coach.
There may be a new coach. There may be a new coach there who's got plenty of leeway and leash, and he can go out and take a chance on a Zac Wilson.
If you're a new coach,
by the way, I think a change of scenery for Zac Wilson is going to do him a huge benefit as well.
Yeah, if he goes out to like freaking Samoa. Look,
well, Atlanta's basically Samoa for crying out loud.
It feels like Samoa sometimes with that heat and that humidity. But
sorry, everybody there in Atlanta. I don't mean to.
I know Atlanta's hot. They call it hot Atlanta for a reason. You don't have to be sorry. They know what they know what they have, and it's nice down there for what it is.
And I have some comments. I have some comments about Josh Fields, which we'll get to when we change his picture.
And I think Josh Fields has a better chance of staying in Chicago than he does getting traded.
Well, then here's what we'll do. We will change our topic right now to the next one, which is the quarterbacks coming out of this draft. There's people think it's a really deep draft. I don't think it's that deep a draft, but the Bears likely, they will hold the number one pick because they've got Carolina's pick. They've got Carolina's pick. So the question is going to become, let me find my, there we go. Do they trade Justin Fields? We'll start there. I want to talk about the quarterbacks coming out. I'm not crazy about any of them. I love Drake May a lot. I think he's the best quarterback coming out. I don't think Bo Nix is going to be a big star. I don't think Michael Penix is going to be a big star. I know the Bears are in love with Williams, Caleb Williams.
These quarterbacks are like American sports cars. They look really, really nice to the eye, and it's a lot of eye candy. And then you put them on the road, and you're like, still an American sports car. Let's try to kick it up a notch there.
I mean, all you have to do is watch these guys, and again, they're great college quarterbacks. Don't get me wrong, but there's a big difference. And Michael Penix Jr. could just throw the ball up in the air, and he's got 3 great wide receivers to go up and catch it. So that's not happening here. I mean, not that there aren't great wide receivers, but there's a whole lot better defensive schemes you got to play against in the NFL, and better, faster players,
and bigger, harder hitters.
Yeah. So, I guess question number one is, who's the best quarterback coming out of the draft? I think it's Drake May myself.
Drake May?
Let's see. I think he's the best. And Jalen Daniels, I think, will be a good player in the NFL as well. I think they're 1 and 2.
I just don't think they should be top 5 picks, these QBs.
Again, we all know that they're always overdrafted. Look at the Zac Wilson year with Trey Lance and Zac Wilson, and even Mac Jones at 15.
Yeah, I feel like those drafts, have those quarterbacks been 10 and below, it would have been actually better picks for the teams that are picking them.
Well, they'd still be busts. I mean, Mac Jones is a bust. Zach Wilson today has been a bust. They'd be a bust at 10 or 2. It doesn't matter. Justin Fields was in that draft, right? And he went 10.
I feel like some of these drafts that we had the last 3 years, they should have been like in the second round, in the middle of the second and third round picks.
So did the Bears? What did the Bears do? Did the Bears stay with Justin Fields?
Yeah,
and continue.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Bears are going to be okay. They just need to build. They just need to have more depth.
So what do they do with the number 1 pick? Do they trade it, or they take Marvin Harrison?
Trade it to get you the holes that you need right now, and of course you need a couple of. Everybody needs O linemen. We traded to get you some defensive players that you're lacking. I mean, the Bears are not a bad team. They're just not a great team. They're not good. I mean, they're an okay team, and they're actually doing okay with what they have.
I personally think if these next 4 games don't go well for the Bears, coach will get fired. They'll probably trade Justin Fields and start over with Caleb Williams, and I hope they do. And here's why: because I'm going to tie my Patriots in here.
Oh, Jesus!
I would love to find a way for them to get Justin Fields, and they use their high draft pick. Hopefully, he's there at 3 or 4, wherever they pick. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best player in this draft.
And so is
and putting Fields and Harrison together. If I'm the Bears, that's what I would do, but they're not gonna. I don't think. I think they blow it up. They take Caleb Williams, trade Justin Fields for draft picks, and I'd like the Patriots to be involved.
I think Alt from Notre Dame's a good O lineman. He's going to be in the bottom.
He's coming out. Alt is, yes.
And
I think good. You'll see a lot of offensive linemen go in the first round.
Right now, I feel like this draft, if these teams are smart, they'll go ahead and draft heavy on the defense and O-line in the top 10 picks.
Anthony Price says Bo Nix will fall to the second or third round, get drafted by Arizona. I don't think
Bo Nix, man.
I don't think Bo Nix. He's like 30, I think. I don't know. No, I think he's younger than Penix Jr. But Bo Nix he's going to be a first round pick. There's no doubt about it. It's a matter of where. I think Bo Nix could have some upside because I think he's got more upside than Michael Penix, for instance. But I rank myself. I will tell you, I rank J.J. McCarthy ahead of both Penix and Bo Nix. I rank.
You put McCarthy over Penix and Go
Absolutely. On the next level, yes. In college, no. On the next level,
you know what division, you know what conference he plays in, right?
I do.
You know they don't really draft too many good quarterbacks.
No, I remember one coming out of Michigan. I can't remember his name right now, but he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT.
Well, what happened to the quarterback that he replaced in Michigan? He was a better pick for baseball than he was for football.
Well, just because Michigan didn't know how to use the guy I wouldn't make that a. By the way, also, if Quinn Ewers, which he said he's coming back to Texas, but if he has a big playoff, he may very well enter the draft. I've got him ahead of Penix and Bo Nix as well. So,
I mean, this is what I like about Penix is that he is under pressure and has no memory of.
I like him. The
short-term memory that's needed. I think that all these quarterbacks are gonna suffer in the NFL unless they go to a good team that can protect them, man. Like
Marvin Harrison will be the first pick in the draft if Chicago stays the course with Justin Fields. I think he should be. He's the best player. I've said this a bunch of times in the last few weeks. There's going to be a lot of teams potentially that take some of these quarterbacks, fall in love with these quarterbacks, and don't take Marvin Harrison, and they're going to be very upset later on.
I think Harrison goes 3. And
he's talking about coming back too, because there's rumors that he's been offered $10 million in NIL money.
Because he don't like any of those top 5 teams, and I don't blame him. How about this?
Also, his rookie contract's going to be capped. He can't make $10 million in the NFL next year, by the way.
If the Bears don't trade their top number 1 pick, they will definitely be bad for the next 5 years.
Like if they don't trade it?
If they don't trade it, yeah.
Listen, and I hope they don't do this. As I said, I think their best path is to keep Fields.
Yeah, I think they should
pick Marvin Harrison.
I just think if they pick Marvin Harrison and they team him up, if Harrison's not in the draft, right? If he, gives up his college career to put himself in the draft, to enter the draft, I'm not saying it will be a bad team up matchup. It's the problem is that the Bears still don't fill the hole. It's like the whole Juan Soto thing. You're not filling up the holes that you need.
Well,
and you're just selling tickets now. And
you are filling a hole you need if you pick Marvin Harrison because the Bears need a wideout. The Patriots need a wideout.
I think right now the Bears
he is a great player. By the way, this reminds me a lot of 3 years ago now. Whenever Devontae Smith was coming out, I said Jets should have picked Devontae Smith. Imagine how good they'd be right now with Devontae Smith and Garrett Wilson on either side of that. Now they need a quarterback. I understand. But
if he can't,
they would have gone a different direction than they went with Zac Wilson. There could be a different quarterback in play here.
Oh yeah, I was like, if they would have got Devontae Smith, they wouldn't have. Definitely stayed away from Zac Wilson.
Yeah, could have picked him because Zac Wilson would have gone somewhere else.
It would have been nice to have like Garrett Wilson, Devontae Smith, and Russell Wilson as a quarterback. For the
teams are afraid to take wide receivers with these first 5 and 10 picks, and they shouldn't be. These guys make a huge difference.
The problem is that you can get a receiver anywhere, because some of these schools have great receivers, and you don't see them any those mid-level conference, those mid-conferences, they got a lot of good receivers out there.
Right. By the way, he was the best player in college football this year, and he didn't get a chance to win the Heisman because the offense at Ohio State was not as good as it's been in the past because of the quarterback situation and other factors. He's the best player in the draft, and he's the surest thing in the draft. We've seen over the last several years what a crapshoot quarterbacks are, no matter what. I say Drake May's the best player. There's no sure thing. No sure things. Everybody thought Zac Wilson was going to be great. We thought
Zac Wilson was going to be great. I said that guy was going to be a bust before he even be put on the jersey for the Jets.
Well, you aren't everybody. You're one person. So everybody means not literally everybody, Carlos, but most people. Trey Lance. I mean, the 49ers traded up.
I still think I think Trey Lance has a better chance of being and staying in the NFL longer than Zac Wilson.
Possibly, but he's stuck behind one of the best quarterbacks in football. So what's he going to do there? Marvin Harrison is the surest thing coming out of this draft. I can tell you right now.
I believe in his athleticism. I believe that he's a game changer. He kind of reminds me of the guy that came out of Michigan, not Tom Brady, the other guy that Woodson. He's kind of like a Woodson, you know?
Woodson?
Yeah, Charles Woodson.
Like he's not a quarterback. Okay.
No, he's a game changer. I'm saying game changer.
Yeah, I get you. I'm sorry. I had my mind went to quarterback.
No, anyways, but I'm just saying, like, or what's his name? Who Desmond Howard, kind of like a Desmond Howard kind of guy. You know,
he's better. He's far better than either one of those guys because in the NFL he will be because Charles Woodson didn't play a lot of offense in college. Charles Woodson was a better player than Marvin Harrison. Desmond Howard was a better player than maybe not better. We returned punts and stuff too. So I wouldn't even say as a college player they were both better than Marvin Harrison, but as a pro player, Marvin Harrison has better potential than either one. Woodson's played defense and defense only. Desmond Howard was a special teams player. He didn't do much at that.
Yeah, but I'm talking about athleticism, and I'm talking about play in college. Now, here's the thing. I'll give you this, Keith. Harrison Jr. will be the best player coming out of the draft, whichever draft he chooses to come out, as long as he's not in a top 5 team.
Yeah.
How about that? Because you're talking about potential, and if you're forcing this kid to be the guy, but your team is not the team, then the potential's just burnt out. It means nothing.
Anthony asked how rare it is to draft an old lineman at number 1. It's fairly rare, but it has happened though. I see Eric Fisher was drafted out of Central Michigan by Kansas City, overall number 1 in 13.
What number was Orlando Pace?
He wasn't overall number 1. He was definitely number 1. I'm just looking at overall number 1 picks.
Overall number 1. No,
Jake Long, if you remember, went to Miami out of Michigan. He's a defensive lineman. I know years ago in Minnesota, I don't know if Rick Sherlock's with us this morning, but Ron Yeri was drafted number 1 overall years and years ago. But again, in the last I'm going back to 1966 here. I'm not going any further. There's only been about 2 or 3 offensive linemen drafted overall number 1 to answer your question, Anthony.
Daniels
very rare. Now they do go high. They will go high in the first round, but not number 1 overall.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chicago should just get out of that pick right away. Like, I mean, they're not going to change their team with one player. They're not one player away to becoming a better team. They need like 7 or 8 players,
right?
And out of the 7 or 8 players, 2 of them need to be dynamic because they have a team. Their team is okay. It's a fair team, and I don't think Eberflus is getting enough credit. I'm not saying that he's a great coach, but again, this is only his second year, and this is and his quarterback hasn't been 100% both years that he's been there. So,
and he's gotten better, by the way, throwing the football. He needs more accuracy and he needs to stay healthy, but he's getting better every year.
And once they give him a decent O-line, the running game can be a lot better, and the running game is pretty good.
Ryan's a little Daniel Jones, gets better every year.
This is different. Daniel Jones is different.
So Anthony's talking, I think, about the Bears here, that if they do get the 5th pick on their own, that they would trade the number 1 pick. Maybe. If you want Marvin Harrison, you're not probably going to get him at 5.
Yeah, you're not. If you want Marvin Harrison, pick him up. But if you have Marvin Harrison at 1, the Bears have a lot of luck right now because they have that 1 pick. They're
1 at 5. I go Harrison, and then I'll go offensive line at 5. There's going to be very good offensive linemen available at 5. So.
I mean, I'm willing to trade both first-round picks and find a veteran or a decent O-lineman out there that's a free agent and build your depth in the back end.
That's not working out for teams. We've watched the Patriots do it. We watch the Jets do it, and we watch the Giants do it. Teams we talk about a lot.
They spend the money on.
They don't bring in these veteran guys. Don't come in and work out. They get the money in their bus. Get the young guys. Get young guys on that offensive line.
That's what I'm saying. They need a minor league in football, man. That's why they need.
No, we don't need any minor leagues in football. You got it. You got a minor league in the NCAA. What are you talking about?
The NCAA is not a minor league, man.
You got guys playing till they're 26 and 27 years old.
The NCAA is
money.
The NCAA is this a rich person's AAU, and by rich I mean these college universities and their teams.
It is definitely now a training ground and a minor league for the
It's not. These kids are not ready to come up and play football.
They're not coming out at 21 years old anymore. They're coming out at 25 and 26.
And most of them are not that great. Look, I'm going to give you a heads up and props, Keith Engle, because you said it. you said that Sam Howell was going to be a decent NFL quarterback, and he is a lot better than I expected. And this kid, Washington's got a gem.
On a really bad team.
Yeah, this Washington, they have a gem. They got a kid that others are following. He's got decent leadership skills. They just need to put it together over there, and Washington will be okay for the next 3 seasons.
So I did put in this question before we move on to a different topic. I did include the Jets and Giants in here, and this probably would have been more relevant a few weeks ago when it looked like the Jets and Giants might have been drafting higher than they probably will be. Now, the bottom could still fall out on both these teams. If they end up with top 5 picks, do they make a move at quarterback and draft one of these guys? I don't, because I've got guys in place. I've spent a bunch of money on Daniel Jones. I've got Rodgers for next year. I fill the voids that I have on the offensive line and at wide receiver on both teams. Both teams are still weak at wide receiver to help those quarterbacks out.
Well, I think the Giants have a nice little three player there from last year's pick. They just need to keep going at it. They need to kind of move on from what's his name, Shepard. They need to move on from Shepard. Which they probably will, and then add maybe one more guy. They got 2 slot guys. I feel instead of like a go guy, they need a go guy. So,
if I'm the Jets, not the Giants, because I think the Giants obviously they're locked in with Daniel Jones, and maybe DeVito has shown he can be that guy to be the backup and change all that when they need him. The Jets, though, have got to look towards the future. Again, we talked about the Zac Wilson situation. If they move on from him and Rodgers has got one more year left, you've got to make a plan for the future. I think they pick a quarterback later on. Later on. Hold on, back up. Talking about 4th and 5th round.
Yeah, but those guys, they pick the guys in the 4th.
I'm going to give you a guy, too, the Jets ought to have on their radar for he's probably going to go in the 120s. What's that? That's a 4th or 5th round, right? 128, something like that. Michael Pratt out of Tulane is going to be an NFL quarterback, and he's not going to start out of the gate. It's going to take a few years for this guy probably. He'd be a good guy to bring in if they do move on from Zac Wilson, and they got to have somebody for the future. Just throwing a name out there.
I mean, I would go out and get like Agent McCarron or somebody like. You put in
McCarron's 100 years old. What are you talking about?
He's still got like 5 years to be a backup. These backups, man, they'll be like 35 by the time they retire. So
when the cap goes up next season, Washington will be one what? I'm not sure what you mean there, Anthony. Help me out a little bit. There, maybe he's explaining it now. It'll be 104. He didn't write the whole thing.
Yeah, no.
One of 4 teams that have around 100 million cap room.
I like
it's all about how you spend it.
Yeah, and I like Washington to beat out the Cowboys and the Giants in the next few years and be the divisional leaders. They got the new management from that know how to spend money and bring in.
They're going to have a new coaching staff too next year.
Coaching staff. They're gonna probably get a new stadium too out of this whole deal. So
yeah,
Washington is Commander fans. I know you guys have been suffering for the last few years, but you got good things coming your way, and it's about time for them. So
in our last couple of minutes, let's I did have this on my list and I forgot to send it to you. Draymond Green, everybody's favorite thug.
Yeah,
Draymond Green would have been a great player in the NBA in the 80s. He would have fit the game perfectly.
I would like to see him and Lambeer go at it.
Oh my God! And in against the Knicks had those physical teams under Pat Riley in the 90s.
Ewing, Xavier McDaniel,
yeah. I should have said the 90s, not the 80s. But Charles Oakley and that crew, they were very physical. Those Bulls Knicks series in the playoffs were like playing football. But he gets suspended now indefinitely. I believe I saw yesterday the NBA said they won't even consider reinstating him until he gets therapy. I'm telling you, I don't care if he gets therapy. I don't care if he gets shock
He's done.
treatment. I don't care if he gets a personality transplant. He's never coming back and being anything other than the thug he is now. And here's the thing. He was a thug with some talent before when he was helping the Warriors win championships. Right. Now he's nothing but a thug out there. And I don't think this guy has a place in this league anymore. This isn't how the NBA goes anymore.
Yeah, and I think he does what he does because he's older, because he has less he doesn't have it in his legs to get those extra rebounds. He doesn't have the speed to be matching up with some of these younger players in the league. And I mean, it's okay. You know, he had a great career. He's 35 years old. It's okay to acknowledge that you're not the same player and you're not going to get to that level again. It's not okay to just be sticking your leg out, smacking people in the face, choking them, because you can't be the same player that you were. And he was already that guy anyway. He was already an instigator anyway. So now he's just instigating and just a thug. Right now he's got that whole people picturing that. And even a few years ago, and Kevin Durant, who's one of those soft-spoken guys, and he plays a game and he leaves it on the court, mentioned that one of the reasons he left was because he didn't like, Draymond and some of the stuff that the Warriors were allowing him to get away with that practice.
And they've enabled him, all these years they've enabled him. When he could play, I get it why they enabled him when he was a talented player and could help them win championships with other things besides physical play. But when you lose that and now you're just letting him go out there and do this stuff. And by the way, Gilbert Arenas, I don't know if you saw what Gilbert Arenas said yesterday. One of the classier guys who ever played in the NBA as well, by the way. Carrying guns in the locker room.
Yeah, but Gilbert Arenas was a lot better player than Draymond Green would ever be.
Oh, I agree.
You don't have any championships to prove it, but
I agree 100%. But he showed his true class yesterday when he said that'll let Draymond Green play and go out and punch all the European players. I mean, come on.
Essentially, I think that will be true if and only if Draymond does do maybe one or two of those sessions that they want him to do. I don't know if he'll.
What's that going to do? He's not going to change who he is.
No. But it's him abiding by the rules and abiding by the permissions that to get back into the NBA, right? If they're, so that he's just following what they're getting the guidelines. So if he follows the guidelines to getting back into playing, they're going to let him back on the court. What I think he should do, and if I were him, and I'm 35 years old, I'd reply to that tweet from Paul and be like, I'll accept your $10 million fight and let's go at it. You got a lot of aggression. You might as well let it out on the boxing ring.
Should he be suspended for good and just kicked out of the league? Or
I don't think at this point it matters what anybody else thinks of what Draymond does. He doesn't have an effect on the NBA or the Golden State Warriors anymore. He's 35 years old. He's just on a team. Like, he's not Steph Curry. He's not, right now, the teammate that's making a bigger fuss and that has a bigger impact, has a better and bigger impact on the Warriors is the Klay Thompson situation. That's a bigger impact.
It has for a couple of years. I agree.
Yeah, so, because he's an effective player. Like Draymond, if he's not on the court or if he's on the court, the Warriors are still going to be the Warriors. I mean, he's also hurt his own legacy, and I don't know if he cares, but he's hurt his own legacy because for the last couple of years, before he became just known for his thuggery, he was a very effective NBA player on championship teams, and I think these last couple of years have really hurt his legacy going forward. But I'm going to say this, and most of the players that have any kind of legacy, it's always to the point to where they peak. And after the peak, you don't talk about the stuff that they didn't achieve, right? Nobody's talking about Joe Montana and the Kansas City Chiefs. Nobody's talking about Marcus Allen and the Kansas City Chiefs. They all know Marcus Allen was a great running back for the Raiders. And they all know that Joe Montana was a great quarterback for the 49ers. Same thing in basketball. Nobody talks about Patrick Ewing being on any other team except the Knicks. But he was on a few other teams, right? He was on the right? Yeah. So nobody talks about these. Same thing with Barkley. The last team that he was on made a championship run, but they don't really talk about Barkley being, one of those great players in the last team. No, they talk about him on the Suns and on Philadelphia. Well,
we got to wrap it up here. Great job today, Carlos. Good to have you back. Good to be back with all you guys. Catch us Sunday on the Stream of Consciousness, which we'll talk about this and much, much more. All the exciting bowl games coming up Saturday. Pinstripe
Bowl. Let's do it, Keith.
Albany State in the semifinals of the FCS playoffs tonight against San Diego State. I'm sorry, San Diego State. South Dakota State, 21-point underdogs. Let's root on those Great Danes and see if they can maybe shock the world tonight. Yeah. And we'll see you next week here with Are You Serious? So have a great weekend, guys.
Have a good one.